These are boxes of abandoned video games. Let's find out what's inside. All right, just a little background on where this stuff came from. A few months back, a friend of mine reached out to me and said someone he knows had a couple boxes of old video games and asked if they knew of anyone that would be interested in the items. I guess these boxes came from an old rental property where the previous tenant had moved out and they had no way to reach the previous tenant. And so most of the stuff that was left behind was actually going to get thrown away so that the building could get ready for the next tenant to move in. Instead of throwing these items out, my friend, knowing that I'm a physical game collector, said, "Hey, is this stuff that you would be interested in?" And of course, he brought those items over, and they've actually been sitting down here in my game room for a few months now. And I thought it would be fun to actually go through the items on camera in this video. I've actually not gone through these items in any sort of depth or detail. I've actually just only looked into the tops of the boxes, but I thought it would be fun to go through the items together because just peeking in, there's some really good stuff. All right, what I want to do now is I want to give you a view of the boxes that I had, looking into the tops, just to give you a sneak peek before we actually go ahead and go through each of the boxes individually. Starting here on the left, it looks like we have some complete in box Sega Genesis games. Battletoads Double Dragon, Pitfall, Sonic the Hedgehog. Get this out of the way. We've got a third-party Sega Genesis controller, Cal Ripken Jr. Baseball. That looks like Road Rash. A complete in box Road Rash, hopefully, is what that is. Some Xbox One games, DVDs, it looks like as well. Not too much more. Some Super Nintendo games, maybe some CDs, DVDs back there. Could be some PlayStation 1 games. That would be cool. Moving on to the second box here, there's some consoles. Got a Super Nintendo. It's pretty yellow. Sega Genesis, it looks like. PS4, some PS4 games, Xbox 360, Xbox One games, and some more Super Nintendo games. And moving on here to the last box, got some PS4 games, more Super Nintendo games. Looks like that's probably a Halo game from what I could tell there. Xbox 360. That's cool. That looks like a Super Mario 64 manual. Looks like there's probably a couple manuals back there. We'll have to check those out. Looks kind of worn there. Hopefully they're in good condition. We'll see. But we'll go ahead. We'll get into it. So on to the first box. So I'm actually starting with this middle box here just because it looks like it's a bunch of consoles for the most part. So we'll go ahead. We'll start with this Super Nintendo. Oh my. That is dirty. That is filthy. That is probably one of the dirtiest consoles I've ever seen. These were in a garage, I believe. It was where these were being stored. Looking at the kind of box, obviously it doesn't appear that they were closed in that garage. So, wow, is that a bug? Ugh. Hopefully not. Hopefully this isn't a trend for the rest of the boxes. Yeah, that's a dirty console. Hopefully it can be cleaned up. The outside can always be cleaned up, but hopefully the inside's not too bad. But there's a Super Nintendo. We've got a Sega Genesis Model 2. This also is quite dirty. Not nearly as bad as the Super Nintendo, but still, I'm sure you could see that on camera. Definitely got some grime all over this thing. We'll clean that up. We'll test it out, see if it works as well. But yeah, a Sega Genesis Model 2. All right, what else we got in here? Let's go to this PS4. This looks like it is a PS4 Slim. This looks to be in much better shape. A couple scuffs on the console. That's expected. It's not a new console, so you're going to get that. But it's not filled with dust like the other ones were, so that's a good sign. Hopefully that works. But there's the PS4. This is cool. Let's pull off on that for a minute. This is cables. Looks like this is the PS4 cable. There's more than one cable here. It's an HDMI cable. So yeah, it looks like a PS4 power cable and an HDMI cable. Don't see any other cables in this box. Hopefully, maybe they're in the other boxes for the Genesis and the Super Nintendo. If not, you could always get cables online, pretty cheap. So we'll see. Yeah, let's check this out. Oh my, this is cool. Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past Player's Guide. This is in pretty good shape too. A little bending on the corners, but that's not too bad. Look at the price tag on this. Babbage's $14.99. That's cool. I remember Babbage's. This is old. This is obviously from when the game came out on the Super Nintendo. I wonder if the poster is in here. Feels like it is. This is the poster. Yep, right here. Shows you the map of all the different worlds. How cool. Little rip there, but that's okay. This is incredible. It's in really good shape too. Looking through this thing, it is in great shape. Wow, this is cool. Wasn't expecting to find something like that in there. Pretty cool. All right, let's check out these Super Nintendo games. Get those out of the way. Yoshi's Island. This is a good one. I don't think that I have this on the Super Nintendo. I think I have the DS version of this, 3DS version, maybe the 3DS version. That's what it is. So that's cool. Here's another one, X-Men Mutant Apocalypse. I definitely don't have this one. Don't know much about it, but cool to have a new Super Nintendo game. Looks like a lot of sports games in here. We got NBA 2K16 on the PS4, Xbox One, NBA 2K15. Disney Infinity. This is cool. This reminds me of when my kids were little. They used to play Disney Infinity and the Skylanders games, and we had, I don't know, it felt like 100 of these figures across Disney Infinity and Skylanders. We ended up giving them away to somebody at some point, and their kids played with them. My understanding is some of those figures actually became quite expensive and worth a lot of money, but like I said, we gave ours away, but that's okay. It went to some kids that played with them. Madden, Call of Duty Advanced Warfare. Feels like there's going to be a lot of sports and Call of Duty games in here. Grand Theft Auto. I have this already on the 360, the PS5. I mean, at this point, this game's been on so many different consoles and generations. I mean, everyone's probably got it on at least one system. Some DVDs, Wild Boys. Nothing wilder than the Wild Boys. I used to love this show. If you were a child of the 90s, I'm sure you remember this show. This was a great show. I guess more the 2000s, but... And then Sandlot. This is a great movie as well. Not video game related, but these aren't too bad. Oh, The Amazing Spider-Man 2 for the PS4. This is actually a pretty good game from what I understand. Also pretty expensive. I think this game goes for like $50 plus new. I actually almost bought this once or twice over the past years. I have the first one. I don't have the second one. I just never pulled the trigger on buying it. Prices were always a little inflated. I thought maybe I'd find it cheaper. Let's see if it's got a manual or if it's complete or anything. Oh no, the game's not in there. Oh, I didn't even think of that being the case. The game is not in there. Hopefully it is somewhere else in one of these other cases. With everything we pulled out so far, games-wise, I don't care if any of those are missing, but this is definitely so far the one that I'd like to see at least have the case for, or the game for this. So hopefully it's somewhere in here. Another Madden game. This looks like that's Halo 3 for sure. Yep, it's Halo 3. Another Madden game. Oh, look at this. Some Game Boys down here buried at the bottom. Got a black Game Boy Pocket and a blue Game Boy Pocket. Nice. Hopefully these work. I don't actually have a Game Boy. I have somehow just a couple random Game Boy games in my collection that I've probably got from other lots or something. But I don't actually have a Game Boy itself. So this is cool. Hopefully these work, or at least one of them work. They don't feel very heavy like they have batteries in them, which is probably a good thing because they probably would have exploded depending on how long they've been in there. And then Fallout 3. This is a great game, fantastic game. Played through this a long time ago, but good game. And that is it for the first box. So we'll go ahead and lay everything out and recap everything that came in that first box. All right, here we go. Everything from the first box. You got the crusty Super Nintendo, the PS4, the Model 2 Genesis, these Super Nintendo games. I'm really hoping these Game Boys work. I'd like to have at least one working Game Boy in my collection. And then this was crazy to see. Like I said, I did not expect to find something like this in the box. It's really cool seeing that Babbage's sticker there. And then the games and a couple random DVDs. But I did go ahead. I checked all the other cases to see if Spider-Man 2 was in any of the cases. Unfortunately, it was not. Actually discovered that 2 other games were missing cases, which isn't a big deal. One of them was Fallout 3. Like I said, I've already played through that game, and one of the Maddens, I don't remember which one. But we'll put this away, and we will pull out the second box. All right, here we are onto the second box. It looks like there's, from what I could see, a lot of games in here. A lot of Super Nintendo games, which is cool. Love to see that. We'll go ahead, though, and Call of Duty PS4. Again, keeping with that theme, a lot of Call of Duty games. And yep, that was obviously Super Mario World. It's actually in pretty good shape. A little bending on the corners with, again, not being protected in any sort of case. For a manual that's this old, that's not too bad. Feels pretty good, though. A little bit of water damage, you could tell right there on the front of the cover, but not too bad. Let's see here. What is this? This is a poster, I believe. Oh, yeah, this is a poster. Let's check this out. Let's unravel it and see what it is. So that poster was actually an Eternal Champions poster on the Sega Genesis. I don't think I've actually ever played this game. If I do, I don't recall. But on the back of it, which is really cool, is it also shows you a bunch of different previews or screenshots of Sega Genesis games, of a bunch of different games. So that's cool. Also got, the Game Gear here and the Sega CD. I've never actually owned a Game Gear. I think I've only actually played one like one time when I was younger. I always wanted one. For some reason, I just never owned one. Still to this day, I've never had a Game Gear. And then a Sega CD, I do have one of those, a couple Sega CD games in my collection over there somewhere. But yeah, that's cool. This poster is in really good shape. No tearing, no nothing. So Eternal Champions for the Sega Genesis. All right, continuing on with the second box, let's get into some of these manuals. So this looks like it is missing the cover. This is probably, that's Mario Kart, obviously. So We got a Mario Kart manual without the front and back cover. That's interesting. Oh no. Hopefully these aren't all without covers. Here's another one without the cover. Table of contents. Special message from Capcom. It's a Capcom game. Controlling your fighter. Tournament begins. So what game is this? Capcom USA. This is going to be oh, Street Fighter. Yeah, that's cool. I would have liked to have this one complete with the front and back cover. That's unfortunate. Oh man, these are all like that. What is this? This is Cal Ripken Jr. baseball instruction booklet. Also missing the front and back cover. Bizarre. Oh, but this one is not. Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. That is a nice one. It's in really good shape too. A little creasing there, but all in all, it feels really good. That's cool to see. As I'm scrolling through this on the left, I'm seeing Turtles in Time on the right. Trying not to get ahead of myself, but wow, there's some good ones in here. This manual is in really good shape. And like I said, Turtles in Time, this is one of my favorite games of all time. I actually have it on display, the cartridge, sitting right up there on the shelf with my other Sega Genesis games or my Super Nintendo games. I just absolutely love this game. So it is really cool to have the manual for it as well. That sticker's kind of cool. Farley's Fruit Snack coupon inside. I wonder if that's still good. Oh, Mortal Kombat 2. These manuals are in all really good shape. They feel like they've been taken care of over the years, which is really nice. There's a ton of them here, so I'm going to go through them. Donkey Kong Country also has a big tear, though. That's unfortunate, but still cool to have. X-Men. This is going to be Mutant Apocalypse. This is for that game we looked at earlier from one of the bins, so that's cool. Mario Paint. I've actually never played Mario Paint. I don't think that I own it either, so maybe that's in here. I'm sure I wonder if these manuals are for all the games that he has in here. That'd be really cool because there's some good games in here. I don't recall seeing, at least from what I could peek in and see, any 64 games though, Nintendo 64 games. So maybe they're buried in one of these other boxes or the third box behind me here. Wave Race 64. So that's cool. We've got Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past. This is a good one, and this is in really good shape. With some bedding in the corner. They just feel crisp though. They don't feel like they've been bent and torn and used a lot. The pages are all really clean. This is cool. I was not expecting to have all these manuals in here like this, especially in like the condition that they're at. Some are missing covers, obviously, but for the most part, a lot of these feel really good. WCW NWO World Tour. I played this game so much when I was a kid. I played all the wrestling games on the Nintendo 64. Me and my brother were big wrestling fans, big WWF, WWE fans, and we just played the heck out of this game. Mario 64. Look at this. Wow. Wow, and this manual is in great shape, like phenomenal shape. No creasing on the corners. This feels brand new. Wow, this is awesome. I can't believe this stuff was mixed in here with all these games like this. Wayne Gretzky Hockey for the Nintendo 64. NFL Blitz, also in really good shape. Yoshi's Island. I just can't get over how good in shape some of these manuals are. And there's another one just in really good shape. I mean, gosh, this game probably came out sometime in the early 90s. Yoshi's Island, maybe mid to late 90s. But still, you're talking 25, 30 years old at this point. That looks like the end of the manual. So, yeah, we'll go through these again at the end when we recap what was in this box. But there are some bangers in here. This is incredible. Let's continue. We've got Call of Duty Ghosts, again, keeping theme with the Call of Duty and sports games. We'll hold off on the Super Nintendo games. We've got Halo 4. I definitely have this somewhere over in the collection, but it does have both discs, so that's what I was looking to see. So that's cool. And then Aladdin on the Super Nintendo. I absolutely love the Aladdin games, and I say games because if you don't know, I'm sure a lot of you know, but the Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis versions of Aladdin are actually different games. They're made by different companies, and they're both different games. They're both very, very good games. You know, it's kind of split in the community around which game people like better. Me, myself, I like the Sega Genesis game more, but the Super Nintendo game is still very, very good. Star Fox. So I've never actually played Star Fox on the Super Nintendo. I've played Star Fox 64. I love Star Fox 64. I don't have this. I know that I don't have this. I'm glad to have it though, because it's definitely something that I want to play at some point. I mean, it's a classic, so definitely gonna check that out. All right, what do we got here? Super Star Wars. I played some of these Star Wars games. I think there's one for all three of the movies on the Super Nintendo. They're all right. They were fun for a few minutes, but at least for me, I only played them a little bit. But and there it is, Mario Paint. Like I said, I've never played this. I definitely don't own it. I think you need like some accessories to play it, like a mouse pad or something like that, and the mouse. I don't know, maybe not the mouse pad, but a mouse or something like that. Maybe a keyboard. Not really sure. Never really got into it. Don't know much about it, but I know it's a classic. It's cool to have that. Oh, Turtles in Time. I guess I should have expected this with the manual, but like I said, Turtles in Time is one of my favorite games. Absolutely love it. Cool to see that. That's Super Mario World. Obviously, I've played this. Who hasn't played this? Everyone's played this. I have a copy of it. Great game. One of the best games of all time. Personally, of all the Mario games, it is my second favorite Mario game behind Mario 3. I like Mario 3 just a bit better than this, but Super Mario World is also a very amazing game. Street Fighter 2 Turbo. I don't think that I have this on the Super Nintendo. I have the Sega Genesis version of this, I believe. Up next, we have Secret of Mana. I definitely don't have this. I do like RPGs. I think, from what I recall, this is supposed to be a pretty good game. Maybe I'll check it out. That's cool to see. Secret of Mana. We got some Game Boy games here on the bottom, and that is a yellow cartridge, which can only mean one thing. And yes, it is Pokemon Yellow. I don't know if there's any other yellow Game Boy cartridges other than this. If there are, I'm just not aware. But Pokemon Yellow, that's cool. I was a big Pokemon fan when I was a kid. The original Pokemon, the 151, I know about them. As I got older, kind of fell off of Pokemon a little bit, but I definitely remember playing Pokemon Yellow a ton back in the day. All right, what other Game Boy games we got here? We got a mystery game. So we'll have to see if any of those Game Boys work and put this in and see what game is actually here. So that's kind of fun. We'll have to see what game that is. Looks like we have the controllers for the Super Nintendo and the cables for it as well. So that's cool. We'll set those off to the sides. We've got a Super Nintendo game. Oh, good. This is a good one. Link to the Past. I don't own this somehow. I know I've played it. I've beat it in the past. Somehow I don't own it. I've almost bought this one too a bunch of times, and for some reason I just never pulled the trigger. Just said I'll get it another time. I'll get it another time. But luckily here it is. So that is definitely one that I am glad to have in the collection. Sonic & Knuckles, I have a copy of this as well. This is a great game for the Sega Genesis. This is one of those, I don't know if it's the only game where you put another cartridge on top of this. So it opens up, and then you put another version of Sonic 3, I believe, in top of here, and it gets like more characters, or I'm not really sure the details on how that works. Never actually did it. I guess I'll have to try that one time. Sonic 3, I have this as well, complete in box. This is the not for resale version. Came packaged in one of the systems, it looks like. And then a couple more Game Boy games. We got Super Mario Land. This is a great Game Boy game. Not owning a Game Boy, I still have played this game and played through it. This is a fantastic game. I think I probably emulated it at some point, but really good game for the Game Boy. And then this is cool, King of the Ring for the Game Boy. I'm a big wrestling fan, like I said. Me and my brother, big wrestling fans growing up, and I was a Bret Hart fan growing up. So even just for display purposes, this is really cool to have, really cool to see King of the Ring on the Game Boy. All right, and this is everything that came in the second box. Got all these manuals, some bangers in here, like I said, some really good ones. A lot of them are in really good shape. Outside of these that are missing the front and back covers. That poster, that was cool. What do we got here? We got Halo 4, PS4, PS3 Call of Duty games, the controllers and the cables for the Super Nintendo that we were missing, the Game Boy games, which are really cool to see. Want to figure out what that is, that mystery game, so that'll be fun to check that out. And then some of the cartridge-based, couple Sega Genesis and Super Nintendo games. All right, we are on to our last box of games. Let's start with these complete in box. Hopefully they're complete in box. Hopefully they have the manuals inside here, but Sega Genesis games, Battletoads Double Dragon. So I had this game growing up. I don't remember what happened to it, but lost it sometime over the years. I don't have it in my collection right now, so it's great to have this one back in the collection. Definitely one that I always wanted to add back into the collection, so glad to have that. Sonic the Hedgehog, the Sega Classic Edition. I have this too as well over in the collection. I mean, you gotta have the original Sonic in your collection. Let's see if these are complete. I'm curious. Yep, got the manual there, got the game, cool. From what I could see here, there's the manual here for Double Dragon. I'm assuming the game is in there as well. Not gonna pull that out right now. Don't want to risk damaging anything with one hand. So we'll move on. Pitfall. I don't have this. I recall playing this a little bit. Don't remember too much about it. That is complete as well, so very cool. Anytime you get complete Sega Genesis games, Super Nintendo, a lot easier to get complete Sega Genesis games just because of the clamshell casing. They held up a lot better. But there's a lot more. Wow, there's a lot more down here. I did not know that all these were down here. Could not see them. We'll pull out this retro controller, this Sega Genesis. No, is that a Sega Gen? That is not a Sega Genesis controller. I just saw it was black. That is a Super Nintendo controller. Well, no, licensed by ABXY. This is interesting. Licensed by Sega Enterprises for Sega Genesis and Sega CD. It's interesting that they have the ABXY controller on there instead of ABCXYZ. All right. We got a bunch of cables. It looks like these are the Sega Genesis cables and the Sega Genesis controllers. So good to have those. Needed those for the Sega Genesis that we opened up in the first box. And there's actually a. This is for the Disney Infinity. This is for the Disney Infinity game. This is where you place the characters on the portal. Oh, and here's the mouse that I was talking about that you needed for Mario Paint. This is cool. I could actually finally try this game. I've actually never seen one of these in person. I'm definitely going to test this out, check it out, and try Mario Paint for the first time and see what that's all about. Cool to actually have this and see the mouse here. This is cool. All right, let's get into some of these games. We got Cal Ripken Jr., baseball game. Not going to play that, but there it is. Mortal Kombat 2, I have this. I think I have this on the Sega Genesis. I mean, it's Mortal Kombat. Everyone's got some version of Mortal Kombat somewhere. Real Monsters. This is a cool one. This is one that I think I've almost bought as well in the past. I know I don't have it. I actually loved this show when I was a kid. So really cool to have this. Road Rash 2. I think I have Road Rash 1, which is one of those square Sega Genesis games. If you recall ever seeing those. Most of the Sega Genesis games are rectangle, but a couple of them, I think specifically some of the EA Sports games and some others were actually square, and I think Road Rash was one of them. Road Rash 2, that is great to have that. Road Rash, those are great games. Brett Hull Hockey 95. I have no idea who Brett Hull is. Not really a big hockey fan, and by not really, I mean not at all, but there's that game. Eternal Champions. Okay, so the poster we got earlier that we saw, here's the game. So I will actually be able to finally play this game. Like I said, if I played it in the past, I don't recall. What is it? Is it a... Okay, it's a fighting game like Mortal Kombat. Cool. All right, we'll check that out and see what it's all about. I had this game growing up, and I played the heck out of this game. I actually remember where and when I got this game. I got it from a Sears randomly for like $20 when I was a kid. I don't know why I ended up getting this game, why I was drawn to it. It looked fun to me at the time. I do remember playing it a ton. Yeah, there's the parachute level. I remember that. Cool to have this back in the collection because there is some nostalgia there for me. You got Pac-Man. Well, Miss Pac-Man. It's the Tengen game. Yep, that's cool. Not too much to say about that, though. It's Pac-Man. Street Fighter. I actually think this is the version of Street Fighter that I have on the Sega Genesis. I think I might have said I had the Turbo, Street Fighter 2 Turbo. I think it's actually this version of Street Fighter that I have. Mortal Kombat 2. So we've got Mortal Kombat 2 on the Genesis and Mortal Kombat 2 on the Super Nintendo. Apparently, this person was a Mortal Kombat 2 fan, needed it on both systems. I think I have it, like I said, on the Sega Genesis as well. So I've got 3 copies of Mortal Kombat 2 floating around. Here is the second Star Wars game, Super Empire Strikes Back. So that's cool. I wonder if all 3 of them are in here. Not too many Super Nintendo games left that I could see. Maybe it's one of them. Donkey Kong Country. This is a classic. I have it, but classic game. Next Sega Genesis game. What do we have here? Mortal Kombat, the original Mortal Kombat. I still remember the blood code for the Sega Genesis. ABACABB is the Sega Genesis blood code. Yeah, wasn't on by default. You had to enter it at the title screen and to enable the blood. Monopoly on the Sega Genesis. This is cool. This box is cool. It doesn't even look like a video game for the most part. I guess it says Sega Genesis there, but I feel like it's designed to look like a board game. It's pretty cool. I doubt I'll ever play this. I don't know. Cool to have in the collection though. Then what do we got here? Man, look at the bottom of this box. These games are filthy. Son of Batman, a couple movies it looks like. The Cranberries, some DVD or some CDs. War of a Revolution. And PD Pablo. All right, some random CDs. We've got a Saturday Night Live 78-79, the complete 4th season. Who was on this season? Anyone good? Complete 4th season performances. Okay, a bunch of hosts. We won't get into that now. Okay, so maybe Spider-Man is in here. What is in here? Hopefully there's some Family Guy stuff. More Family Guy. What else we got here? Friday Night Lights. Looks like it's movies. Fortunately, it looks like these are all movies. And that was all of them. There's nothing left in the case. So no Amazing Spider-Man in that case. I didn't go through all the cases. Maybe it's in one of these somewhere. I'll have to do that. Ken Griffey Jr. Baseball. I played this game a ton. My friend had this game. I didn't have it, but I would go over there all the time and I would play this game with him. We had a lot of fun playing this game, so cool to have that in the collection. Terminator 2, the arcade game. That's cool. This is probably, I assume this is a light gun game. I don't think I have a Sega Genesis light gun. I have a Dreamcast light gun and a Sega Saturn light gun. Unnecessary Roughness 95, another sports game. I forgot this game existed, the Unnecessary Roughness games. Not going to play it, obviously. It's an old sports game. And we got a Mac DVD, so I don't even know what this is. It includes the original version of The Sims, so I guess this is a Mac version of The Sims. So not a PC game, but a Mac game. All right, it's the first computer game we saw. Got Madden 15, WWA 2K15. So that would be cool to me if it was on another system. I don't actually play a ton of Xbox One or have a ton of Xbox One games. I would prefer this to be on like the PS4, but still cool. Cars 2, another movie. And then these are probably all DVDs. We'll just rifle through them real quickly. Eminem, Kanye West, Kid Rock, 5, T.I. All right, this is everything from the last box. So we've got all these complete in box Sega Genesis games, which is really cool. There were a lot of games in here. They were buried at the bottom of that last box, and I had no idea that all these complete in box games were here. A couple Xbox One games, some more Super Nintendo games, the Terminator 2 Light Gun Sega Genesis game. This controller, which is bizarre to me that it's got ABXY and it's a Sega Genesis and Sega CD controller. I mean, the Sega Genesis controllers are ABCXYZ. So, would have thought that was a Super Nintendo controller, but no, it says Genesis and Sega CD. So, pretty odd. And then this was cool. This is the mouse for the Mario Paint game. So I'm definitely gonna try that out, plug it in, and just see what Mario Paint's all about. Like I said, I've never played it before. Some Sega Genesis cables and controllers, a couple random movies, and some CDs. So that is the entire haul. All right, well, that is everything from this video. We went through all 3 boxes. The plan was to lay everything out from all 3 boxes on the table, but as you can see, just with the last box here, there's a lot of stuff in these boxes, and it's just not all gonna fit. But I hope you enjoyed the video. If you do, it would mean a lot if you can give it a like, give it a subscribe if you enjoy this kind of content, and until next time, I'll see you later.